This fall on TSN, NFL season kicks off, NHL returns, the Raps are back, and so much more. TSN, Canada's sports leader. Subscribe now.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, up on TSN 4, up on YouTube Live. Brian Hayes, Dave Naylor, and Dave Feschuk in here. A beautiful Thursday afternoon. How are we doing today, boys?
Better here than the people in Winnipeg.
Yeah, big news going public that Connor Hellebuck is officially revealing to the world, I want out. I'm done. I quietly told the team, or tried to keep it quiet a few months ago, that I requested a trade. And now I'm going public because we're getting close to training camp, and I'm realizing I might have to show up in Winnipeg. And I have to believe this is code for, maybe it's not even a code, like I'm not coming, right? Like he issued the statement, and he laid it on thick. I'll never forget when I got drafted. I've always loved it. Winnipeg will always be home. Yeah, of course it will be. But he said, with training camp approaching, I felt it was important to publicly confirm my request that I want out. My position has not changed, and I believe moving on is the best path forward for me and my family. Does not reveal anything there about showing up for training camp. He is contractually obligated to do so. But now we got training camp watch with Hellebuck and I guess Larkin still in Detroit. If both of them want out, now they're both maybe not going to show up. Yeah. It's like an NFL story for you, Dave.
Well,
but how often do you see that in the NFL? I'm not coming to camp. We got a standoff now in Winnipeg.
That's just about money, usually not about trades.
Very true.
Yeah. But like you say, the fun part about this is it reveals what's gone on the last few months. It's not just kind of coming out and putting some leverage and pressure. It's pulling back the curtain on what's been going on in Winnipeg and all the speculation about Connor Hellebuck. But it's a power move, right? When you do that, it's like, okay, this is the only leverage I have, and I'm gonna use it.
And there's no putting the cat back in the bag,
no.
Right? Because to his credit, and he's right, he has quietly, obviously pursued this in the backgrounds, and I guess to the benefit of the team, but ultimately the benefit of himself, so that he doesn't have to deal with all the blowback for a few months. And I'm sure Hellebuck thought, okay, by now I'm going to be traded. But, you know, it had been pretty well reported on that there was a belief that he wanted out. But again, there's a difference between he might want out or he might be seeking change and publicly issuing this statement. Now it's out there. Now there's no going back. Now you get people in Winnipeg, I would assume, that are going to turn on this guy.
Well,
and why wouldn't you turn on him?
Right.
You know, like, that's sports. We just saw it with Brady Tkachuk. Like, Brady got out quick. To his credit, Brady got out quick. And maybe you'd argue to the credit of the Ottawa Senators, we just washed our hand of it, got the most we could. They would argue that and just said, screw it, we're done. We're moving on. Dylan Larkin's still waiting in Detroit. They don't know what they're doing there yet. They're still figuring out management.
They don't have a GM.
They don't even have a GM yet. They really got their feet up in Detroit right now. And in Winnipeg, I'm sure they've been fielding calls, and I'm sure they've been calling around, and maybe I'm sure their argument, Kevin Cheveldayoff's argument would be, we don't have a deal yet that makes sense for us.
Yeah.
You got 5 years left on your contract. We can't find anything. But now that it's public, it's much more explosive, much more emotional for the fans. And now no one in Winnipeg can argue what Ottawa Senator fans were arguing. Wow, this is a creation of the media.
Right.
You're lying to us. He loves Winnipeg. No, he doesn't. He wants out. He wants out. There's no going back on that.
Those are the three fighting words. And I would say, especially on the prairies, I want out, right? Because it's isolated and it's cold, right? And look, I lived out in the prairies for a couple of years. I know what it's like out there. And I think there's always this fear that people are going to want to say, like I say, those are the fighting words. I want out. And it's almost like it's one of those things when Winnipeg came back in the league, I actually wondered about that. Like, okay, you're talking about smallest market in the NHL, long way, and there's just so many more American players than there were even a generation ago. You just look at how that number ascends, and how are American players going to like living in Winnipeg and playing in Winnipeg now?
Right, and the thing was, like, Connor Hellebuck, I mean, I got connections to Winnipeg, family connections out there. I know it's
Their
your second
second
home.
home.
It's OverDrive's second home. So
Their second
You guys, I was at the Boston Pizza with you guys. You guys were like insanely popular.
We
in Winnipeg.
love Winnipeg.
That was awesome.
We love Winnipeg.
And I mean, when his post-mortem end of season interview this year sent shockwaves through everybody I know out there, because he didn't just say like brutal year because they missed the playoffs after winning the President's Trophy. He played very poorly by his standards, had to go through a knee surgery. I mean, he still grinded, started 50-plus games. But he said some stuff that is hard to take back, just like I want out. It's a little one step back from I want out, such as, will players come here? I love this place, but the majority of the league doesn't feel the same way. Like he just essentially decimated Winnipeg, right? Without saying I want out, he came about as close as you could say it. Cast shade on the management. Can we build a Stanley Cup winner here? Will anybody come here? You know, it was scary stuff for people in Winnipeg who are always afraid. Will anybody want to come here? And they had a guy that won 3 Vezinas, won a Hart Trophy, and now he doesn't want to be here. It's a tough day.
And it's a different thing between guys who are not on your team not wanting to be there and the guys who were there wanting out. Like,
right.
and I'll go back to like the early days of the Blue Jays, like when they were playing in the exhibition stadium and stuff like that. They used to say, we have trouble attracting players to come here, but we don't have trouble keeping players here. Like the guys who come here and play here and experience Toronto, even with a lousy ballpark in those days, we don't have.
I think that still applies today.
I think it still applies today.
Not to the same extent 50 years ago.
Right. And they were lousy in those days too. But the point being that for any market that is kind of an outlier or sort of a smaller, more marginal market, whatever league we're talking about, it's 2 things. I say they go into it knowing guys are not going to line up and want to get there. But it's like, once you get here, our job is to make you not want to leave. So when your best players go down that road, that's why it's so dramatic.
And, you know, Dave, you referenced Bestchuk. You referenced his, postseason commentary. I'm sure the hope was in Winnipeg, all right, he's still emotional. Let him get away and settle down. He's not emotional anymore. And this is just what he thought then, he still feels today at the end of August. It's 4 months later, and the request has not been rescinded. It's actually gone public. It's getting louder and crazier. And the reality is, he is the Winnipeg Jets, or he has been. There's some really good players there. Mark Scheifele had a phenomenal season last year, a great year. Kyle Connor's an American who was on that American team. He just re-upped. He's not going anywhere, right? Everyone's a little bit different. I'm sure there was hope within the 7 front offices of the Canadian teams that the energy in terms of the American-Canadian relations would settle down. The fact is, it's getting even worse.
More extreme.
Like when you consider what's going on in the White House even today,
Lake America,
it's just going to get crazier and crazier and crazier. There's going to be even more of a spotlight on that conversation of American players, and I think you'd be crazy if you ran one of the 7 Canadian teams to not be considering that in some capacity.
Yeah.
What does it mean for our players? And again, everyone's different. Kyle Connor is going back to Winnipeg in 2 weeks. By all accounts, ecstatic too. Cole Caulfield can't wait to get to Montreal. Austin Matthews, pretty sure he's in town. If he's not, he's going to be here very soon, right? Doesn't apply to everyone. You can't apply the same thing to not every kid that grew up in Toronto wants to play for the Leafs. Some of them would prefer to go somewhere else. Some of them want to be here. Everyone's a little bit different. And I don't know if this is Hellebuck, I got to get to the States, or if it's I can't win in Winnipeg. I'd like some clarity on that, because those are 2 very different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 very different things. But he has been the face of the Jets for the last decade. He's arguably their greatest player ever. I'm sure Howard Chuck would be in there, Solani would be in there, for sure. But Hellebuck is that good. He's been that great. 3 Vezinas. He won a Hart 2 years ago. He's phenomenal. He re-upped on his deal a few years ago and said, I'm not going anywhere and I want to win here.
So what changed?
Well, I think
they had a bad year.
They had a horrible year. Now, he was a part of that too, right? He didn't play very well. I don't know this factually. It's difficult not to look at that Olympic run. And what I wonder what came out of that was not so much get out of Canada, because Larkin's from Michigan and he wants out of Michigan, right? He wants out of Detroit. I wonder if what the pitch was from the loudest guys there was not just come to the States, get to the southern part of the States, where it's yes taxes, yes weather, but also no one knows who the hell you are.
Yeah.
Like you just get completely left alone. And that pitch may have landed for a couple of guys. I don't know. Now, what this means for Hellebuck, we'll find out. If this actually expedites the process at all, I don't know. He's got 5 years left on his deal.
Well, the Jets have some leverage here.
Sure, as long as he's willing to accept where the trade is. If there's, what is the market? Like, a lot of teams have spent their money. A lot of teams have their depth chart. Is there going to be a trade available on September 1st that wasn't there on June 1st for Connor Hellebuck? I don't know. I mean, if they were legitimately calling around or fielding calls, what is going to be different today in terms of the offers on the table? I'm not sure this helps Winnipeg, in my opinion. I think, if anything, it hurts it because now the circus has officially arrived in Winnipeg.
Yeah, the
circus is here.
It kills Kevin Cheveldayoff to have this out there so publicly, because now it puts a lot more pressure on Cheveldayoff to make something happen, because you don't want the circus to continue. Like, to your point about the way the Senators handled Brady Tkachuk, like
they realized we got to get rid of him.
They got off him quick, and you know, you can argue about the return, you can argue about the wisdom of it, but you know, I think most executives that you speak to, and Naylor, you've spoken to a thousand of them over the years, like, you don't want the circus. Like, you're better just to cut it off as quickly as you can, cut bait, and move on as fast as you can. Problem is, if you're Cheveldayoff, you're going, well, thanks, Hellebuck. Like, not only did you screw me by going public with this, you screwed me by the fact that you're coming off a terrible year.
Yeah, you want to be traded when your market's down.
You screwed me because you're coming off the worst year of your career. You screwed me because people now are wondering, well, you're 33. It's not young. You know, you look at the sort of the historical trends of goaltenders, they generally don't get better into their 30s. And then you screwed me because guess what? Yeah, you've got a gold medal, and that's great, but you are known as a perennial playoff underperformer.
Well, there's some irony in that if he is being truthful, if his viewpoint is it's not a Winnipeg thing, it's a winning thing, he was responsible more than anyone else for the playoff failures.
Yeah, for the years that the table was set.
Historically horrendous in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Horrendous. He killed this team in the playoffs. Killed them.
That can't be understated. Like, the last 3 years, I was looking up the numbers, and I know Mike Harrington, our good pal in Buffalo, who've been linked to Hellebuck, right? The Sabres have been on talks about Hellebuck. You know, Harrington is making the point, like, do we really want this guy? Like, we think we're a playoff team now. And this is a guy, over the past 3 seasons, you look at it, like, 3 seasons, 23 playoff games, obviously didn't make it last year, but .870 save percentage in those 23 playoff games, and a minus 19 goals saved above expectation, meaning, like, you're way below average in those games. Like, you are the problem in those games, according to the stats. And I'm sure he can make a counter argument that there is chaos ensuing in front of him, and it wasn't ideal for him either. And I'm probably sure there's some truth
somewhere
on both
in
sides.
between that.
But, I mean, really, like, this guy, for all the Vezinas and the heart, which you cannot take away from him, and he's in a very select group of goaltenders who've been able to win those types of awards on a consistent basis, and he's been a warrior. Like,
he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Nobody's played more than him since he got into the league. Like, he shows up, he gets in the crease, and he generally stops pucks, except when the stakes are highest in the playoffs. So if you're Cheveldayoff, you're going, like, you're not exactly Dominik Hasek here, pal. Like, you're not exactly known as Mr. Clutch Patrick Waugh, you know, who's going to deliver a Stanley Cup. So what can I get for you? Like, you don't think I've been trying to get something for you? And guess what?
Yeah.
People don't want to give up a lot for a question mark.
And, like, whether he shows up or not, as of this hour, there's only one story in Winnipeg until this is resolved. Right? And look, it's been a while, because, of course, if you don't show up, you don't get paid. Right? So that's the leverage.
There is a contractual obligation.
There is a contractual obligation. So you can say, I'm not coming, and then the meter starts, right?
Yep.
And you got to decide what it's worth to you. And that's the leverage the Jets have, is 5 years of contract left, and if you don't show up, you don't get paid. But whether he shows up or he's a no-show at camp, this is it, right? And this is what everybody's going to be talking about every day. It's what the players are going to be asked about. It's going to be what the players are talking about among themselves.
100%. No, he is.
That's what you've missed by not getting this done before he goes public.
And listen, from his side of things, I'm sure there's a lot of frustration because it's the end of August, and you're not entitled to anything because you demanded or you requested, right? And there's a gray area in that. Are you requesting or demanding? You know what I mean? Like they try to soften it. We requested. Okay, it kind of sounds like a demand.
I think it morphed in this afternoon.
Yes, exactly. And I'm sure he's frustrated because I don't know what Cheveldayoff and the Jets told him. I'm not sure what they promised him, but his interpretation may have been, okay, I'm out of here. Like, I told you I want out. You guys were maybe at least open to the idea, or maybe his representative is aware of the fact that they have been fielding some calls, and that can happen at times. Their agent probably knows the offer on the table because there may be an offer.
Yeah.
And Hellebuck may be getting pissed off because he said, why aren't you taking that? Like, now you're trying to get even more. Like, that's all you're going to get. I want out of here. And that's what makes this complicated as it goes public. But there's a hockey season to be played in Winnipeg where, again, the idea of them getting back into a playoff picture in a remarkably difficult division with Colorado and Minnesota and Dallas and Utah. Oh. It's an incredibly difficult division. The easiest pathway was him returning to Vezina caliber play. And if he's out, like, I don't know who you have coming up in the system. I don't know who you're possibly getting on the goaltending market right now to fill 55 to 60 games starting, which is what he does every single year.
They got Stuart Skinner right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like Stuart Skinner is
signed this offseason.
That's going to be your guy. So it opens the door to so much uncertainty in terms of what the team is going to look like, what you could possibly get in response or in return. And again, on a grander scheme of things, you're talking about the last decade. The Canadian teams have been very fortunate. They've had superstars scattered throughout the country and a lot of great players and a lot of hardware that has been won, whether it's McDavid, Draisaitl, Quinn Hughes, Hellebuck, Matthews, etc. And now Quinn Hughes is gone, Brady Tkachuk is gone, and Hellebuck wants to be gone. Like, those are the three biggest players in their respective markets. Hughes in Vancouver, Hellebuck in Winnipeg, Brady in Ottawa, and two of the three are gone, and the third one's got public that he wants out.
And you can go back to Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau getting out of Calgary.
You go back 5 years, there's the biggest guys in Calgary. That's a fourth option here, a fourth team within seven that would stick their hand up and say, yeah, we've been
All-Americans.
All-American players. And is that a coincidence?
No.
Probably not.
No, and without
probably not.
Without, as you said earlier, without suggesting that because you've got an American player, he's not going to want to play in Winnipeg or Calgary or things like that. I mean, you'd never make that assumption. But when you start to talk about the caliber of the player and the number of players we're talking about, I don't think it's a coincidence that they're all Americans either.
So, what does it mean for the future of all these teams? Like, because there's a pretty prominent American that plays on this team in this town. Again, Cole Caulfield, Lane Hudson, they just re-upped in Montreal. And I don't want to get out in front of this and start, presuming trade requests in the future just based on a passport. But the geopolitics, which hung over a lot of this after the Olympic Games, it is still as loud. Like, if not, it's louder. Like, it's the craziest relationship we've ever had between the two countries since, like, 1812. Like, it's crazy.
Because they were building the Rideau Canal for the War of 1812.
Like, there is a lot of animosity and a lot of bad energy.
Well,
and
you may get optics like the U.S. anthem being booed at NHL games this fall as this stuff escalates, right? Which, again, I understand. Like, if you're an American player standing there in a Canadian National Hockey League jersey, and 20,000 people are booing your anthem. Whether you're on side with the guy who's triggered that or not, that's not a comfortable feeling.
And conversely, Canadian players are probably going to hear their anthem booed when they're playing in the States. Now, are they going to demand out? We haven't had that yet.
Yeah.
No, we
haven't had any Canadian players say, I got to get out of the States.
Get me to Canada.
We haven't had that yet.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to see that?
I think part of the reason for that is there just isn't a lot of animosity from Americans toward Canadians. I mean, outside of one guy who happens to be renaming one of the Great Lakes today. But I'm not sure how big a factor that's going to be. I think, to your point, Hayes, I think there's a lot of people trace this back to all these guys being together, winning a gold medal, right? And what that does to the way you think about your career. And, Connor Hellebuck saying, 33 years old. Like, how many more years do I have? I'm going to stay here. He obviously, this is an expression of non-belief in Kevin Cheveldayoff and the ownership group of the Winnipeg Jets and their ability to build a winner. This is what this is. Forget about the nationalism of it all.
And he's been there a long time.
Yeah.
Too. Like, he's been there 11 years. Like, I'm sure his argument is I've given a lot to this team.
Yeah.
And as of now, we're not aware of any restrictions he's placing on trades. Like Larkin, it's been reported it's like Florida, Vegas, or Minnesota.
Right.
And Detroit's don't even have a GM. They're like, well, you got to expand that to some point, to some extent. I don't get the impression that's the case with Hellebuck.
I mean, he's willing to go to Buffalo by all accounts.
If he is, then there you go.
Yeah.
You know, like
which is almost Canada.
It almost is.
Yeah.
It almost is. And Cheveldayoff, the GM in Winnipeg, also has a reputation of being notoriously conservative, right? And kind of holding his cards close to his vest, and that would, I'm sure, be frustrating from the Hellebuck camp. But if you're Cheveldayoff and the Jets and you're moving on from your most important player, you've got to get fair value.
You have to.
Like, you have to, especially if you've gone this far. Because using the Brady Tkachuk example, I didn't love that trade from Ottawa's perspective. They accepted it. They took it. They flipped one of the picks for Eklund. They feel like he can fit in and be a top 6 guy. We'll see what happens in the future. But clearly, their mentality internally was, we just got to we got to move. We got to get rid of him. He wants to go here. They put this offer on the table. It's the best we can get. We're out. Winnipeg is going a different direction. They are saying we got to get the best deal possible. Geopolitically, it's actually kind of mirroring what's going on in our world right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to take our time. We're going to walk away from the table if need be. We're going to get whatever we can. But I don't know how the deal gets better for Winnipeg today compared to yesterday.
It's hard to imagine.
I think it gets worse.
It's hard to imagine it will, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody now smells blood in the water, and the Sharks are circling, and it never gets better at this point.
Here's the only way it can change, and that is if the Jets were calling his bluff. It's saying, we know you've asked for a trade, but we got 5 years, and we think this is gonna go away. Now, I think today is the day that he called their bluff.
It's not going away.
If that's the case. It's not going away. So, I mean, that's the one thing that can put this into a different category. That starting tomorrow or starting now, Cheveldayoff knows he's got to do something.
Yeah, and we'll see if he does or not, because he's got 5 years left on his deal. But it does feel like it's a massive moment in the history of their franchise. Like, what they decide to do here, where
it's the nightmare for every franchise. When your best player says, "Get me out of here."
Also, they're like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in the office of Gary Bettman, because he is kind of shooed away the idea that there's an issue with state taxes and with Southern teams, and hey, when they weren't any good, it didn't matter. But if he ends up in Florida, how do you, like, you've got a Dodgers situation on your hands all of a sudden. Like, you got a lot of teams in the league being like, well, what are we supposed to do? These players are just basically mandating this is the only place they're going, and teams are capitulating and giving it to them. I don't know how that would work. They just acquired Markstrom. Maybe Markstrom gets flipped. I think he's probably got a no-trade list. If he does, I would guess Winnipeg's probably on it. But where does he end up? That's the question. Marty Baron coming up from Buffalo to get his take on this. We'll get into Keegan, or we'll catch up with Keegan Matheson from the Dome ahead of the Jays game tonight, Game 3 of that series with a big win last night. Get into a number of things, including Nathan Lucas. Huge redemption tour last night. Touch on that and more still to come. Dave Naylor in here. Dave Feschuk in here on Brian Hayes Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
The Emmys, live Monday, September 14th on CTV and Crave. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel coming up later this afternoon. Keegan Matheson in just over half an hour. I've got a Gatorade shower take that I'm sure you guys have been waiting for on Nathan Lucas and Vladdy and the whole squad last night. Big one tonight.
Hey.
Cleveland's red hot, too. The Jays are down there next week. And Cleveland, they keep winning. They've won 7, 8 games in a row. And even with the Jays winning last night, they're still 3 games out. So we'll catch up with Keegan just after 5. Marty Baron coming up here in a moment. And, the Hellebuck news. There's also, we believe, some Cale Makar news coming down at some point, maybe in the next 24 to 48 hours. Like, I fully expect he's the highest paid player in the league when he signs that extension.
Has to be.
And he should. Like, there aren't 5 better players in the league than him in terms of his importance, in terms of the position he plays.
Team success.
He's won everything. Like, this is just a layup. Like, it's.
Although Pal McKinnon just took a moderate increase the last time he signed.
He sure did.
So we'll see.
But it just feels like the landscape has changed a lot since then. And but you're right. Yeah, McKinnon did. He barely went above McDavid at that point.
Yeah.
Just above. But now maybe what happens here is Makar goes like just above Leo Carlson.
18.9.
18.6 million or whatever it is.
Celebrini got 18.8.
Okay, so there you go. 18.9.
Yeah, 18.9. Just a tad.
By
A little
the
bit
by
over
the time
the top.
McDavid's deal is up, where's he going to rank in NHL salary?
Pretty far down the list at
Yeah.
12.5.
Although the next one, I guarantee he'll make up for
they'll
it.
make up for it. But
I'm
still.
pretty sure he will. He'll make up for it. All right, do we have Marty? Okay, here's Marty Baron, our TSN hockey analyst. What's happening, Marty? How we doing?
We're doing good. I was taking the dog on a walk. It was all good. And then all of a sudden my phone is blowing up and I've got to rush home because I had to talk to you guys, got to do Sports Center. I'm going to be in my office for a little bit. So that's good.
Attaboy. So with the idea of, or the news coming out this afternoon that Connor Hellebuck had quietly requested a trade back in the spring, now he is very loudly, publicly announcing to the world that it is still an outstanding request, bordering on demand. And I'm curious your interpretation of that. Is that him saying, I'm not showing up to camp? Is that, place us in the skates of a player in the league going through something like this? What do you think the intention of Hellebuck has here? Or what is his intention for going public with this?
There's a possibility that if this isn't resolved before training camp, that Connor Hellebuck would be a holdout in camp. And I've seen it, right? Let's go back to Alexei Yashin and with the Ottawa Senators. He missed a whole year. And then he ended up coming back and playing a year with the Ottawa Senators before he walked out and went to the New York Islanders. So I think there's a strong possibility. I think most of the insiders and the people connected with the situation knew that Connor Hellebuck had privately asked, for something, right? Either a trade or to explore a trade. And I think it's great that it stayed quiet. It basically allowed the Winnipeg Jets to regain some of that leverage, maybe to say, let's call a team, let's make it happen. But I don't think the deal was there. And I think they got pretty close with like the Buffalo Sabres, for example, who had been rumored before the draft that, hey, the Sabres want Connor Hellebuck. And if they do, you're looking at the Atlantic, you're looking at the Eastern Conference, maybe it elevates the Buffalo Sabres. But from what I was gathering is that the Sabres weren't maybe willing to go to the place that the Jets wanted the Sabres to go when it comes to players and prospects and all of that. I think that it was rumored that the Sabres, wanted the 8th overall pick for the 4th overall pick part of the trade. And Kevin Cheveldayoff was like, no, I'm not giving you the 8th overall pick. It's basically the same thing as the 4th, so I don't want to do that. So there was that there. But now that, Connor Hellebuck is putting a little pressure, maybe trying to stir things up. Now maybe you're going to see the talk happening. And you know what is interesting too? the news that Thatcher Demko is potentially not going to be ready for start of camp, and we don't know what Thatcher Demko is going to be. Maybe all of a sudden the Vancouver Canucks could play as a third-party option for some of the things that Kevin Cheveldayoff wants with the Winnipeg Jets. Like that to me is interesting leading into training camp.
Man, his head would explode if they offered him a trade to Vancouver. Can you imagine?
Well, not a trade to Vancouver.
I know
but
that.
as a
I'm joking.
Party,
hey,
but
I know. I'm just saying. I don't think Hellebuck even wants to hear Vancouver when he's dealing with this whole process.
Yeah,
but
maybe not.
In terms of his value, it's complicated with goaltending. I know you guys take that personally. Like, I can already see Noodles' head exploding, saying, man, this guy should get more than the Gretzky trade. But, you know, he's not a young guy. He's coming off a bad year last year. He's got 5 years left at a reasonable cap hit, like 8.5. But what do you think his value – what is his value? Like, what is the value of Connor Hellebuck to other teams?
Well, it's a first-round pick, and that's a no-brainer, right? You get a first-round pick. You get a high prospect that is a former first-rounder or somebody that's going to be in the NHL in a year or two that's going to be a high-level prospect, right? So those are no-brainers. They're non-negotiables. They're right there. I think you're getting one or two players, and I'm not talking depth players. I'm not talking a third or fourth liner. I'm not talking a fourth or sixth defenseman. I'm talking like top 3 defensemen, top 2 lines. You're probably getting 2 of those, and maybe you have to get a goalie in return. So depending on the quality of the goaltender that you get back, maybe that's just 1 impact player, but I think you need an impact player. When I was working on this Connor Hellebuck maybe trade package early in the summer and through the month of July, the one name that came to mind when people in, Eastern Canada are going to, gather around the water cooler or at the bar is, well, what would Carey Price have fetched if the Montreal Canadiens had a 30, 31-year-old, 32-year-old Carey Price, had been offered up to the league? And I think a lot of people in Montreal would say, oh, you need something significant, right, in return. Well, that's the same thing with Connor Hellebuck. He's got the same resume, in my opinion, as Carey Price. He's got the heart. He's got the, Olympic medal. He's got gold medal. He's got, the wins. He's got that. He's got the Vezina. So I think it's exactly what Montreal would have wanted for Carey Price is what Winnipeg should be getting for Connor Hellebuck.
But, Marty, what about, and I agree with you, the guy's resume is incredible, except the one blemish on it. I think it's the past 3 playoff runs, 23 playoff games. He's got an .870 save percentage in the postseason. And those have been really detrimental, obviously, to Winnipeg's playoff hopes in those years. Does that, if you're a GM, if say let's say you're sitting there in Buffalo and you're saying we think we're a playoff team, but can we trust this guy in the playoffs?
I am not worried so much about what Connor Hellebuck can do in the playoffs because I do believe that also falls on the Winnipeg Jets and other players on that organization. And, you can look at Mark Scheifele and you look at Josh Morrissey, who missed some of those playoffs that you're talking about. So I'm not worried. And then what does he do in the Olympics? He turns around and wins a gold medal and makes that save on Devon Toews and was excellent for Team USA, right? So I think if I am a team that's looking at Connor Hellebuck, I'm looking at the work, right? Saying he could play 55, 60, 65 games a year. Now, we're playing 84 games this year, and I don't think that teams are really looking at playing somebody 60-plus games. A lot of teams are going to utilize their backup, their third goalie as well. But Connor Hellebuck can play 65 games if you want him to. He can be a workhorse, and I really believe that, especially when it comes to goal, now it's a different story. I played with Dominik Hasek. For years, Dominik Hasek in Buffalo, great goalie, 2 times Hart winner, Vezina multiple, 5-6 Vezinas, whatnot. And then in Buffalo, he loses against Dallas in the finals, lost to, some of the early series, Montreal in '93. He wasn't even around, like he got hurt and didn't play a lot. So I'm looking at, but then Hasek got to Detroit and won a cup. And then won a second one. He was the backup to Osgood, but then all of a sudden he's a winner, right? So that, to me, is what Connor Hellebuck would bring is that, well, you know what? Once he settles in, he can still win. He proved it at the Olympics.
So the Jets now have just sent out a statement. Kevin Cheveldayoff just issuing a statement saying, quote, Connor has been open with us about his desire for a change. He has been an important part of the Winnipeg Jets organization for many years, and we have tremendous respect for what he has accomplished here. While we continue to work through the situation in a thoughtful manner, there's no update at this time, end quote. So a statement that
about nothing.
basically wasn't needed.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Could have been a text, more or less. Anyway, go ahead, Dave.
Marty, it's funny. You mentioned the Alexei Yashin holdout in Ottawa, and I was covering the team in that day. And one of the things I recognized when he eventually had to come back to the team, he was not very popular with the rest of the players after walking out on them. And that's what I'm kind of, it's funny. We see this in the NFL a lot of time, holdouts or hold-ins, and it's always about money. It's never, very rarely about a trade. And I think there's always a sense that the teammates are on side, that they want to see their teammates get paid and get rewarded. Even though the guy's not there, they don't love the fact that he's not there, but they get it, and they understand what it's all about. How are the rest of the Jets, do you think, accepting a guy with 5 years on a contract saying, I'm out of here?
Well, obviously, the ones that he's really close to knew that, that request was probably made early in the summer. So they had kind of, understand the situation. They know him. And, if he was to come back to the Jets, well, he's still one of the best goalie in the world, and he'll help you win and help you play better. But I really don't see him coming back. I think we have flipped the page now. I remember when Michael Pekka had a year-long holdout, right, with the Buffalo Sabres. He didn't come back. They made the trade with the New York Islanders a year later. We knew Pex wasn't coming back, and I'm good friends with Pex, and I understand and understood his position and what happened, and I'm like, hey, it's part of the business. You move on. Now, it's interesting because another player that's asked for a trade is Dylan Larkin. Now, I'm looking at potential landing spot with Connor Hellebuck, and I think Buffalo is one of them. It was at the draft. It's been throughout the whole summer. I think San Jose could be one of them. Look, with Celebrini and all that talent that they've got, Askarov, Nedeljkovic, you know what? Bring in Connor Hellebuck, and then all of a sudden, you're a force in the Pacific Division. But Detroit is interesting because if you bring in, first of all, figure out your GM situation. Number two, if you bring in Connor Hellebuck to Detroit, right? And then you can go to Dylan Larkin and say, hey, listen, this is the place to be. Got Connor Hellebuck. Look at what we are trying to do now. Maybe, I'm just saying, maybe you can fix that road, right? That with Dylan Larkin. And maybe that would be swinging big for Connor Hellebuck. That would help the Detroit Red Wings get there.
With Marty Barano, TSN hockey analyst. So in the last handful of years, Matthew Tkachuk told Calgary, I'm not staying here, got traded. Yeah. Quinn Hughes basically told Vancouver, I'm not staying here, got traded. Brady Tkachuk said, I want out. They traded him. Now Connor Hellebuck. Those are the four most important players on each respective team, including in Calgary. Maybe it was Goudreau, but Johnny left as a free agent, a little bit of a different scenario. And I'm not convinced he really wanted to leave. I think that was a little bit. There was some communication issues, I think, on both sides. Nevertheless, four of the most important players, if not the most important players, all of them Americans, all on Canadian teams, all out. In Hellebuck's case, he wants out. What if you're an owner of one of the 7 Canadian teams? What are you supposed to make of this?
We had that conversation with Austin Matthews in Toronto. I think that the one team that doesn't have to worry about it is Cole Caulfield with the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think Cole Caulfield's going anywhere. I think he loves it. I think he fits perfectly there. But you never know what that's going to be like in 2, 3, 4 years down the road. It was Emily Kaplan, ESPN, that reported after the Olympics that the conversation around that locker room was there could be some players on Team USA that play in Canadian teams that may want to move south of the border. And she was absolutely right. And that's concerning. That's concerning if you're the 7 Canadian teams. That's concerning if you're drafting American players, which we look at the Americans and they're getting to be superstars. There is some amazing talent south of the border. So I think it's going to be a problem. Now, can you work around that? Can you find talent? Can you even maybe build a team in this way that you're going to retain those players? Absolutely. If the Winnipeg Jets, the year that they won the President's Trophy, they had to go to Game 7 in a very miraculous way to win and whatever. Like if they win the Cup that year, you don't have that problem. I don't think you have that problem at all. So I think it's about winning, number one. And then number two, you have to make sure that you kind of, look at all the files. Is this a player that maybe is a player that would want to play down south? I think Ottawa knew that with Brady Tkachuk when his brother went to Florida. I think there's other players that you had to see this coming And I think Connor Hellebuck was probably one of them as well when he won gold at the Olympics and Winnipeg didn't make the playoffs. He's getting, older. You had to see that type of situation coming.
Marty, you talked about some of those, situations from years back where players have demanded or requested trades, and then teams have said, "No, we'll do it when we feel like doing it." You sit there, and I mean, if I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan, I'm saying, wait a second here, you are 2 years into a 7-year deal. If you didn't want to be here, why the hell did you sign a 7-year deal? You can't just change your mind like that. And maybe, what do you think the appetite would be for, Kevin Cheveldayoff to say, you know what, if I'm only going to get a first-round pick and a guy who may or may not be able to play, maybe I'll just make a point here that, you signed a contract and if you don't want to come to camp, that's fine, but we're not paying you and you can sit there.
Obviously that is an option for Kevin Cheveldayoff, but at the same time, I really feel that Connor Hellebuck is going to say, okay, that's fine. You know what? Like, suspend me, whatever. I'm willing to sit out a year. I've made good money. I put it away. I'm okay for the year. I'm just going to take time with my family. Look, I went through a lockout in 04-05. That was almost the same situation, right? Didn't play. You had to prepare for that. I think Connor Hellebuck is prepared for that. But that is the option. But also, look at the moves that the Winnipeg Jets made this summer. When they signed Stuart Skinner, who, by the way, has the same agent as Connor Hellebuck, and he had to really know, look, Connor's probably not going to be around. This is a good place for you, Stuart Skinner. And the Jets are like, we need a guy that at least is going to give us maybe potentially number one, type of goalie in our organization. And maybe we can partner him with somebody else if we do the Hellebuck trade. I do think that, the Jets and others around the league have been operating under the assumption that Connor Hellebuck's not going to be there. And I think the teammates know that, the training staff know that. Look, I this time of year, it's always interesting because you'll get, goalie mask, right? What's that goalie mask going to be like for next year? Connor Hellebuck uses the same painter that I used when I played. And I followed them on Instagram. Hi, Candy Air. They're out of Mississauga, by the way. They're just around the corner. Well, I haven't seen any post on Connor Hellebuck mask. So I'm like, they're not painting his mask yet because he doesn't want to be there. That's really what it comes down to. That's investigation that I've been doing.
I like
lately.
that.
Yes.
Nice job, Marty.
That's serious stuff. That's serious stuff.
That is digging down.
Oh, we got to leave it at that, man. You can't beat that kind of scoop. Get that thing on SportsCenter immediately tonight. Great catching up with you, Marty. Good seeing you, bud. We'll do it again in a couple of weeks.
How's the golf game, Hazy? How's the golf game?
It's not the greatest. I'm not going to lie. I've had a bad wing for a while. I've been on the IR. I'm not playing right now. It's very disappointing. But I'll make up for lost time in the future. Don't worry about me.
Sounds good. Well, have a good rest of the afternoon, and we'll see what happens the next few days and weeks with Connor Hellebuck.
You got it. Thanks, Marty. There he is, Marty Braun, our
you.
TSN hockey analyst. And, it's difficult. If and when Hellebuck gets dealt, then we can truly react to how good of a team they're going to be. But Winnipeg's coming off a tough season, and they made some moves in the offseason, but not enough to make you feel great about them launching back into contention. They won the President's Trophy 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. But, we're in a moment in time right now where it is so heavy what's going on, the Canada, the American stuff, the Olympic Games, and maybe in another universe, Canada wins that Olympic gold game and it's totally different, or like Marty said, Edmonton wins the cup and it's totally different. Who knows? But this is our reality for the foreseeable future. I can't imagine it's going to apply forever. Like star American players just refuse to play in Canada. I don't believe that will be the case, and I think every instance is an isolated one. Quinn Hughes maybe wants to be with his brothers. Hellebuck's been there 11 years. Brady wants to play with his brother. He literally is. There's different scenarios in play here that make them unique. But if it ever actually gets to a point where you are legitimately concerned, you just can't get someone here because of their passport, that is an existential problem the league has to address. But I don't know how you could possibly rectify it.
Well, and it is because of the way the demographics of the National Hockey League are shifting. Like, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 seasons ago, for the very first time in history, the National Hockey League dipped under 50%, right? And if you look at the growth of American players, the reason it's kind of catching up and may surpass Canada is you've still got regions of the country that are discovering hockey, right? Which you don't have in Canada. Everybody's pretty aware of hockey in Canada. Like even a generation ago, you would know that Mike Modano was American. You knew Keith Tkachuk was American. But there wasn't like endless numbers.
And they were from like Michigan and Massachusetts.
Absolutely. Now you got guys from Texas and Florida and Arizona, and you've got way, way more of them. So you're right. It's not going to apply to every guy. But the more American players you have in the league, the more chances are you're going to get one of these.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, how do you draft? How do you scout? You know, how do you talk to a kid when he's 18 years old and say, are you going to play here, or at 24 or 25, are you going to, how can you get a straight answer?
And now you're in the age of player empowerment. You thought you had Connor Hellebuck, locked up for 7 years. Suddenly, 2 years into it, he's saying, see you later.
Just private, what do you think changed for him? Because obviously, like when he signs a 7-year deal in Winnipeg, he knows what Winnipeg is 2 years ago. It's not, there's no mystery there. So is it just purely the team falling off? Or
I think a down season is one thing. I can't look past the Olympic experience and the reaction to all of it as well. I'm fairly certain that, like, pretty much all those American players did not love the reaction from Canadians in particular when they came home. I think it's a number of things. And a lot of them are out of the control of the teams. What are you going to do? Like, again, and it's not going to quiet down. It's still very, very loud. Keegan Matheson in about 20 minutes. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live. 15 minutes. We've got the long-awaited date for Kyle Lowry's jersey retirement, January 10th. And guess who's going to be in town?
His hometown team, maybe?
The Philadelphia 76ers, which means LeBron James will somehow find a way to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Don't you think LeBron will stick his nose in somehow, and he'll be involved in some capacity?
He's one of the great attention seekers of our time.
Yes.
He will find a way to get a headline. Yes.
Yeah, he will. He'll say something during the day.
Yeah. Didn't they used to call this place LeBronto?
Yeah. And that's
Remember that, Kyle?
kind of crazy. When Kyle was at his height before Kawhi rolled through, it was kind of LeBron that he just couldn't get over.
That's right.
But
That'd be good, though. Nick Nurse being in town will
Yeah.
be nice.
and that is his hometown, and I would assume they may have talked to him and said, "What do you think of this idea?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "That'd be kind of cool." It's his night. Like, it's Kyle's night. It's gonna be a cool night, and very well deserved. I wish it was the first number retired in team history, but it's not. That's
We all wish. Well, not all of us.
Not
I
all
know
of
there's
us.
a lot of people that
people are
love
happy.
Vince and love 15 being up there. I think it's a disgrace, but we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But Kyle and number 7, 100% justified to be up there. And that's the only time Philly's in town. They play in Philly twice. But Sixers, Sunday night, 6 p.m. game. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it'd be.
They're going to build that up.
The depths of winter in Toronto, coming off the holidays. Yeah, it should be fun.
It should be a big day. What a way to sell it.
Not exactly golf weather for Kyle.
No, it's not.
Won't be a pre-retirement golf round.
No, that's right. He'll be flying up probably from like Florida or something too, right in and right out. But there you go. That announcement came down today. Jays Royals tonight. Keegan coming up into the next hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
the Toronto Tempo live on TSN. Every pass, every point, every moment, live. Instacart Tempo Basketball on TSN.
The Amazing Race Canada, all new, Tuesday at 9, 8 Central on CTV. This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you more ways to play your game your way. Brian Hayes, Dave Naylor, Dave Feschuk. The Tour Championship is underway down at East Lake. And Minwoo Lee with a lights-out 8 under today.
62.
62 bogey-free, looking good for Minwoo going into the round tomorrow. Scotty Scheffler's still out there. You got Jays Royals tonight. Connor Hellebuck has gone public with his trade request. I guess trade demand, if that's the way you want to look at it. And the Jays coming off a win last night. Really cool story there. A scene with Nathan Lucas the night before running into the final out. And then he gets moved down the lineup, and then he hits the big home run last night. And it was he's been really good for them lately. Really good for them. And there's a lefty on the mound, but he's in the lineup. He's going to hit ninth tonight. But you got a chance to win the series this evening. And Spencer Arrighetti's going to get the ball. He's not going to go a ton of innings. Bullpens, it was great last night. It was perfect last night.
Four
the way
hits.
they worked through that. Yeah, it was a phenomenal performance, starting with Spencer Miles. But last night after the game, which is the way it works whenever they win, the hero of the game does the interview on the field, and out comes Vladdy with other guys and the Gatorade, and they try to douse them with Gatorade. It happens every single time they win at home. And for whatever, I guess I'm not surprised because Vladdy is dealing with a polling issue right now in this market. That's what he's dealing with.
Yes.
He's got a polling issue where anything he does, people don't like. Right. And he wasn't alone out there. Miles Straw was out there. Other guys were out there. Jesus Sanchez was out there. Everyone trying to read the body language of Nathan Lucas. And now Lucas is serious and he wants to get into the playoffs, but Vladdy doesn't. It's another example of when you're winning, everything's amazing. You can do anything. When you're losing, everything sucks. And also, when you're playing well, you can get away with more. And when you're playing poorly, people are going to be very defensive, basically, to anything you're doing. And that's the problem with Vladdy right now. He has a polling issue in the city. And now people have a problem with something that happens all the time. And the reason why I think it is ridiculous to even be thinking this way, if you are a Blue Jay fan or someone who's anti-Vladdy right now, and there's a large group of people that are doing that, if he stopped doing this, people would pounce on him and say, oh, he's being a suck.
He's sulking.
Right. He's sulking, and he's not going through with his normal routine. Yeah. I knew it. Bench him. So he can't win.
No, there's no win there.
He can't win. No, Vladdy's got a polling issue.
He looks
right
like
now.
He's happy. People don't like that.
Yeah, exactly. You're too happy. You're not
Too
serious
happy.
about how much you stake. You should be in the cage right now working on your game.
I mean,
he can't win.
No, you can't win when you got 7 home runs. It's not about the Gatorade. It's about the 7 home runs and 0 in your home ballpark. That's
Right.
what it's about. And I'm with you, Hayes.
But do you expect him to stop doing it?
No,
That's what he does all the time.
I like the fact that he's a good teammate, that he's always cheering his teammates on. He's always happy for everybody else's success. I mean, that's good. I mean, you can't say that's a bad thing. Like, there's no possible way. The one thing I will say, though, it's like, I mean, you could see in Nathan Lucas that it's a bit of a read the room moment where he's like, dude, we're still like 4 games out of 500 and 3 games out of the wild card. Like, just tone it down. Like, and maybe, he's like, I'm hitting 7th, and then the next night they're hitting me 9th. I'm barely holding on here. Like, I'm not really in an exuberant mood right now, and nobody else in the locker room is. And Vladdy's the lone exception. And I don't hold that against him, but there is a kind of a read the room aspect of it that I got out of Nathan Lucas kicking over the Gatorade.
Originally kicking
not exactly
it over.
in a festive kind of mood.
No. And listen, the night before, again, he probably left that stadium feeling like, man, the whole world's against me.
As he should have.
Yeah,
Well, he
exactly.
should have. In a one-run game, that's a good risk, what he did.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't a
But it
one-run.
wasn't a one-run. And funny, I'm watching the game at first, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, 5-3. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a bad. It's funny.
Except Vladdy was coming up.
Vladdy
It
was
like,
coming up,
what did you
yeah.
expect? Nothing good was going to happen.
Well,
Unfortunately.
Well, and it's funny because the fact that the Jays have climbed back into this thing, sort of, I think has kind of really magnified the spotlight over Vladdy's struggles, right? Like if with the trade deadline they trade and they lose 5 out of 6 and they're right out of it, Vladdy's still struggling, but you're not undermining the success of the ball club because there was no success to be achieved. But now that you're kind of in this thing, like his struggles become relevant, like not to next season, which everybody's worried about already, but they're relevant to the now.
yeah.
He absolutely, I mean, his throw the other night, like he absolutely has the ability to be the reason this team doesn't go to the playoffs.
Yes, he will be.
Yes.
And that's not a hot take or anything.
No,
He is the reason.
He is the reason.
He's a reason.
Like
he's a reason where they are where they are.
Yeah,
and he's
like
a reason why they can fall out of it.
And baseball is, every sport now is kind of caught up analytically to an extent, but we put much more faith in the religion that is wins above replacement,
Sure.
where you can actually say that guy should be worth 4 or 5 more wins.
Right.
And if he was, this team would literally be in a playoff spot. Now, could you say that about Springer? Yes. Could you say it about other guys further down the lineup? Sure. But Springer's not in his prime, and he's not making the same amount of money.
Not in the first year of a $500 million deal.
27 years old, which is the statistical peak of a major league hitter. If you throw every hitter and everything in the history of baseball,
He should be doing it.
27 is it.
He should be
Exactly.
doing it.
Yeah.
But again, I think I'm all for, and I've been very critical of Vladdy at the plate. No one can be positive about anything he's done in terms of his playing performance. Nobody can. I had some people write me, well, he's got some hits and he's walking. Yeah, okay.
No.
A, he's not leading the team in either category. B, it's a little bit deceptive the amount of at bats he's getting. But that's still neither here nor there. It's still not good enough. And it's not like he's he's not chasing down a batting title.
Not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close. So it's simply not good enough. And the criticism in terms of what happens when the ball is in play, 100% justified. If anything, it's been softer than maybe it should be. But a Gatorade, and some of these guys just don't like it.
No, I know.
Like that's really, I'm not sure I'm seeing it as deeply as you, Dave, that it's like Lucas is so serious about wins and losses. It's probably more, I'd rather get through with this TV obligation and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I don't really want the Gatorade.
Well, I think
all
that's
over.
part
A lot of guys
it.
just don't like it.
Like every win doesn't have to be a Gatorade shower. It'd probably be the sort of the go-to idea of a lot of guys on that team, I'm sure. Now, to your point, like I'm not taking if Vladdy's Vladdy and that's his way of expressing his happiness for his teammates in a big moment. That's just who he is, and that's what you paid for. You knew who he was. You gave him $500 million. We've seen this team. There was a time where there was this internal belief that there was not enough seriousness on the field, that the popcorn showers and the home run jacket were detrimental.
And it led to 74 wins.
Right. And there was but like we know the push and pull.
I understand
management
that.
gets grumpy, and management says, "What the hell are those guys doing down there showering popcorn? We suck."
Yeah.
Like there's no time to celebrate. Look, that's not us. That's not the nasty media saying that. You know that if you've been around pro sports teams, when teams are not performing, even the management that's supposed to be analytical and the smartest guys in the room with their pocket protectors and their spreadsheets, they still look at stuff like that and they go, see, that's the problem we have right here.
It cost them Teoscar Hernandez.
Right.
That mentality was, He's too happy all the time.
Right.
You know, there's too much going on down at the other end of the dugout here when we're getting blown out. These guys, let's make a trade for a relief arm that doesn't even play anymore. And Teoscar's with the Dodgers win a World Series.
Very happily.
Yeah, very happily.
You always hear that in many sports where somebody goes in and they pull out the ping pong tables or the TVs from the players' lounge.
Right.
I don't.
Well, they do it all the time.
Yeah,
the home run jacket disappeared. Hey, we're bringing it back.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect encapsulation of this whole thing. 94 wins, win the AL East, go to the World Series.
Home run
jacket, and Gatorade showers are the greatest thing in the world. You stink the next year. Get that out of here.
Yeah.
That's it's not the fact that the team can't hit, no one can stay healthy. It's, the Gatorade showers and the home run jacket that's causing all the problems.
Yeah, but I guess it's like, hey, man, they haven't been very good at picking their moments this year because yesterday, I think, when I looked it up, they were dead last in OPS with runners in scoring position. Yeah. Like, that's the literal idea of being able to rise to the moment. But I think what some people are saying is, like, this ain't the moment, man. Like, maybe if we're tied for the wild card, then have a Gatorade shower. But like every time we win a game, even though we're not making up any ground and we're still well below 500 and absolutely disappointing the city, maybe lay off the Gatorade shower.
Three-run homer from your number 9 hitter.
Yeah, there you go. Number 9 hitter tonight, Nathan Lucas. Let's head down to the Dome and catch up with Keegan Matheson, our good buddy from MLB.com, joining us on the Maple Toyota Hotline. There's a little redemption for Lucas last night. Could you feel that in the park, considering what happened 24 hours prior?
Yeah, and I feel like everyone was looking for that because, like we talked about, Nathan Lucas is not the guy that typically makes the dumb play, right? He is a rock-solid, fundamentally sound player. And there's a little more forgiveness, from coaches, from teammates when something like that happens, and it's Nathan Lucas. If it's a rookie who's done some stupid things, you're a little more pissed off. But I think the story we got from John Schneider was that Lucas came in and gave him a big hug and said he was sorry. A bunch of teammates told Lucas that tonight's going to be your night, and sure enough, it was. So it balances out a little bit, guys. We got to psychoanalyze a Gatorade shower all day.
Yes.
As long as we got something to talk about, fellas, business is booming.
Well, and let's be clear, that Gatorade stuff, if that's not Vladdy, no one is talking about it. Even if Lucas has the same reaction and kicks the thing, it's all about Vladdy, isn't it, Keegs? Like, that's really what it comes down to.
Everything's about Vladdy, man, everything. And even when we walked into the clubhouse today, these players are aware of what we talk about, whether they're open about it or they just have burners and they follow it. They're all aware of everything that's said. And Lucas brought that up to a couple of us just casually and had a laugh about it. He's like, man, people really latched onto that, didn't they? He just hates cold water. Apparently, he just really does not like cold water. He told us that if anyone ever captured him and put him in an ice bucket, he would tell them whatever they wanted. So it's a cold water issue, not a fractured clubhouse, which is not as fun of a narrative, guys.
Yeah.
But that's the big scoop of the day. Nathan Lucas doesn't like cold water.
I like it.
That's a fair point, Keegs. What do you make of the idea that, hey, they're not moving Vladdy? I know you guys questioned John Schneider pretty extensively in recent games about the idea of moving Vladdy down the lineup. He's hitting third again tonight, but Lucas is the big hero last night, and he's now gone from hitting seventh to hitting ninth tonight. What do we read into that?
It's different every day at this point. And John Schneider, one thing they did last year, was using that kind of 6, 7, 8, 9 pocket of the lineup to create some chaos. And that works if you're hitting for power elsewhere. If you're not hitting for power, it just looks like more of the same contact hitters, and it's a bit boring. But they're trying just about everything. And, Fess, that's why I was so interested in this Vladdy conversation. It's because they've tried everything else. There are guys leading off for this team that I never would have guessed would lead off for this team this year. They have tried every lineup in the world except for one where Vladdy hits 4th, 5th, or 6th. And John Schneider's explanation continued to be that, this team is built for Vladdy to be succeeding 2nd or 3rd, and they don't want to budge from that. Interesting, he used the phrasing, he didn't want to punish him for that. And the example he used was Bo Bichette a couple of years back. He tried to piss off Bo Bichette and motivate him. And that can work sometimes if you're a personality like Bo. But Vladdy and Bo are two very different cats. And I don't think Vladdy is going to be the one that you try to put a chip on his shoulder. That's never been his motivation. He's never been that brash, edgy player. I'd still be very interested to see this attempted because you got to try everything, and they're just about out of options. At this point, doesn't look like it, guys. Vladdy's going to bat second or third the rest of this season, and we'll go from there, but they're going to ride this ship.
They're not changing it now. And
No.
he had a kind of a Roger Dorn excuse me single in the first last night that was like, man, I can't believe this
Singles lately have just been infield singles, dribblers up the middle. Like, the numbers, even as bad as they are, I think they're still lying to us, guys. Honestly, like I think it's been a little worse than the still terrible numbers. It's been bad.
Well, in his second at bat where he's 2-0 in the count, then 3-1, and he chases. It doesn't even chase a pitch. It jammed him, but it was a horrendous pitch.
Yeah.
And he's mad at himself, and there's shots of him in the dugout. I don't know if he's breaking bats and all that, but like every night there's another at bat where you're like, what are you doing? Like, what are you? The worst bat in the league wouldn't swing at that pitch.
Yeah.
And he's swinging at it. It's crazy to see.
Do you think the fielding play, and I know Vladdy's known as a good fielder, but he makes that play the other night where he throws the ball to the wrong side of the base. And I mean, is that just a bad play in isolation, or do you think that his frustrations at the plate and probably his frustrations in general, are bleeding maybe into another aspect of his play?
Yeah, I think there's a bit to that. That's the same game that Nathan Lucas made that bad mistake.
Correct.
Those are two players making two mistakes that they don't normally. Everything else is working. You're trying to be Superman every day. Even if you're fielding a bunt, which is not an exciting play, you're trying to be perfect. You're trying to do it a little quicker, a little more aggressively. In Vladdy's case, a little more casually. Like I don't think he needed to go submarine style to first base there, and he did. It didn't work.
Like Hayes said,
But
Tony Fernandez.
Yeah,
exactly.
Did not work, and that's part of it because the swings we're seeing lately, like Hayes mentioned, they're blowing me away because that's not Vlad. And if this was a new player who we'd never seen, I'd say sure, get him back to AAA. That's not the case. Vlad, he'd be not just great, but one of the best hitters in this entire sport. We've seen him do that when he was 18 and 19, coming up to the minors. And we just saw him do it in the World Series against the freaking Dodgers, man. The biggest stage, the biggest opponent. He was the best hitter left in the postseason, which makes this so frustrating. When you see him over and over, guys, we've all seen it, watch a pitch right down the middle and then lunge at a pitch that's out on the edges and hit a dribbler. It's not making sense. And because of that, guys, when we do see a hard line drive, it's hard to believe in it still.
Keegan, I want to ask you a little bit more about that whole idea that Schneider brought up about being demoted in the batting order being akin to punishment, because I thought we were in the analytical age of baseball where the choice of where you place a batter in the order has nothing to do about your emotions and your feelings about the guy. It's got nothing to do with discipline. It's not about punishment. It's about production. It's not a choice that reflects on your feelings about the guy. It reflects on your strategic philosophy about how you want to win baseball games. So how can the reigning MIT Sloan Analytics Conference Analytics Team of the Year, the Blue Jays, be sitting here going, well, we can't move this guy down the lineup because he'll see this as punishment?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm fascinated by who analytics apply to. If you're at a certain level and you're making $500 million and you've taken a run at some MVP awards, are you a little above the analytics?
Yeah.
If Nathan Lucas or Miles Straw were having one of these issues, you're going to move them, and you're going to move them pretty quick because they're making a few $million and they're not the face of your franchise. But at a certain point, are you above what the analytics might obviously say? And do you move in a realm where I think Vladdy is right now, where you are more of a gut call? It goes down to feel and old school managing. And John Schneider's managed Vladdy for 10 years now, guys, since the lower levels of the minor leagues. And that Bo example he used was so interesting because how it happened is John Schneider decided to bat Bo Bichette 7th in the lineup. This was a few years back. He texted Bo the night before and said, hey, Bo, I'm going to make some changes in the lineup. Bo Bichette said, great, but he hadn't seen the lineup yet. And when he saw he was batting number 7, he was very upset. John Schneider told us what the text said in reply. I cannot repeat that on this show, but you can imagine it was not a happy text. to get in return. And Schneider said, looking back, he was young in this job and made a dumb decision to try to motivate a guy. And it sounds like Schneider regretted that a little bit. So I think that's where this is rooted in for John Schneider, at least. So it seems like we're beyond analytics with this decision, and that's what this is coming from, kind of a lesson that he learned from that Bichette decision. Whether it's right or not, that's the lesson this is attached to.
So as we turn the page to tonight, we got Spencer Arrighetti getting the ball to start the game tonight. How many innings are expected? How much is left in this bullpen? What needs to happen tonight after what was a great performance by the Arms last night?
And nothing is left in this bullpen, so it better be all Spencer Arrighetti's got at this point, man. That bullpen game yesterday was fantastic. Like I can't overstate how impressive that is, because these bullpen days are hard when you are gassed. Arrighetti, if he can get up to 65, 70 pitches, that's great. If that's 4 2/3 or 5 innings, fantastic. From that point on, I mean, maybe they bring in Michael Lorenzen, who the Blue Jays are just signing today. They've got a couple depth guys that they can eat up innings, but you cannot be going to Tyler Rogers and Louis Varland, Mason Fluharty, and Braden Fisher every single night. I know it's final stretch, 29 left, but eventually a wheel or an arm is going to fall off one of these fellas, and you can't have that happen. So if they can get 5 from Arrighetti, big win. And the Royals, I mean, I know the Blue Jays aren't world beaters right now, my God, but the Royals are not exactly the Dodgers either. So maybe you can survive for 5 innings as Arrighetti.
Last year, a lot was made of the fact of how likable that Blue Jay team was. And maybe that's just the nature when you come into a season without expectations and you end up in the World Series, you're going to be very likable. And in some ways, I could look at this team 2 ways. In some ways, when you score the fewest runs of any team in Major League Baseball, you're talking about watching a team play poorly with runners in scoring position all season, like we saw 2 nights ago. But yet at the same time, you're watching a game like last night where you're basically, keeping this team together with kind of, glue and tape, and they're still hanging into it. Where do you put this team sort of on the likability scale for the fans of this season?
Oh, great question, because this is entertainment, right? Like, no matter how seriously I talk about baseball all the time, it's entertainment. People are watching this to enjoy it. And sure, there's 1 or 2% of fans who are analytically minded and really love a bullpen game, and man, they love metrics. 95% of people tuning into this game every night, millions of people watching this game every night, want to see a couple of home runs and a cool play. They want to be entertained. And this year's team, universe as last year's team, when we're talking about entertainment value. Now, likability, they still stay afloat a bit because the personalities are good. And I've been around teams where the personalities were not good and players were quitting on managers and it was toxic in the clubhouse. That's not what this is. But you don't have that ceiling. You're not being grabbed by any stories this year if you are a casual fan who just likes to sit on the couch, have a beer, have dinner, and watch the ball game. I don't think a lot of people are entertained by well-pitched 2-1 wins. They want some fireworks. They want some home runs, and this is the lowest-scoring offense in baseball, who is right near the basement in all of those power categories. They're not a highlight-friendly team, guys. That's the way to put it.
Yeah. Well, maybe that changes tonight. Tonight's the night. Highlights are coming. I can feel it,
guys.
Tonight's the night, and you'll be there. Enjoy it, Keegan. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, guys. Take care.
Keegan Matheson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. It's time to Toyota. Check out the Toyota Tacoma and Toyota Tundra pickup trucks, both available as hybrids. Maple Toyota near Canada's Wonderland of the Maple Auto Mall. Generally, again, I don't think it's an overly complicated theory. Win, likable. Lose, not so likable.
Yes.
It's really not that difficult to figure out.
Well, that's why these guys are a little tough because they're somewhere in the middle.
Yes, they're true. And listen, you can lose and be young and energetic and give hope to the future. That's also complicated here because they were a team that was supposed to win.
Right.
And, bloated payroll, and they're a veteran-laden team. So, yeah, it's different. It's obviously different, and they don't play an entertaining style of ball.
No,
This is like the team 2 years ago.
I thought that the game 2 nights ago was kind of like symbolic of the season.
Definitely. Lots of opportunities, never broke loose, and self-inflicted pain.
And I don't think you're ever going to have the fans' real affection when you got a $500 million player that is having the absolute worst nightmare of a debut season of that contract that you could possibly conjure. Like, you could not have written up a more, nightmarish script for the first year of a 14-year deal that's worth $500 million for a guy that you were skeptical about giving that big money to than what we're seeing this year. And I think there's a lot of people going, oh my God, if this is year one, what are the next 13 going to be like?
I'm trying to think of comparables. Like, we've seen pitchers, right? This has happened with pitchers, every decade or so. It seems like a guy who just, who's a top flight pitcher and in the middle of his prime, he just can't throw strikes. It happened with this organization.
Yeah, Ricky Romero.
Yeah. I remember when they left him behind in spring training.
Right.
He was their ace, top draft pick, all that kind of stuff. But I can't think of a hitter who just dropped off a cliff at 27.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, it would be worth finding out, like looking, calling up a statistical analyst and trying to find comparables.
And I'm talking about a guy who was a top player in the major league.
And that's what
has been pedigree from the day he was drafted.
And that's what Keegan's pointing out.
Yeah.
Like, Keegan's saying, like, this guy, like, the reason it's so shocking is he proved he was elite in the biggest moments last year, right? He came to play against the Yankees. He came to play against the Dodgers, and he was a scary hitter against those two teams, on the biggest stage. And that's why, to me, it's just beyond shocking. And like, if this turns out to be injury, I've heard people say, well, he must be injured.
Yeah.
If he's injured and they're just trotting him out there like nothing's wrong,
doesn't make sense.
like that's malpractice.
Yeah.
Well, like, if they
what's
put
the
him
point
in
of
that
hiding?
spot.
What's the point of hiding an injury like that?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's not hockey or football where someone's going to go after it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and as we know, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if he's banged up a little bit, but you can still play, well, a lot of guys are banged up and they still perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe not to the extreme levels, but at a minimum, like whatever the mean is, you got to give me something in the middle, even if you're a little bit banged up. And it is going to be, it's going to be weird looking back 15, 20 years from now, Baseball Reference page, and you'll look at his stats and say, well, he must have only played 48 games that year.
Yeah.
And you'll say,
What
no, he
happened?
played 150.
What happened there? Well, and you know where it's going to put a big spotlight is just spring training next year. Like,
Huge.
Yes.
spring training games
Huge.
next year with Vladimir Guerrero. My goodness.
It is going to be a carryover topic.
Yeah.
The only escape or the only way to soften it is somehow they miraculously get in the playoffs
And he lights up.
shows up again.
Yeah.
But even that will only soften it.
Yeah.
It will still be a conversation of how do you possibly project what his numbers are next year? Like, there are a lot of people in the industry that do that every single year that write for different platforms, and they're like, I got to predict what this guy's going to do. How could you possibly know? Like, if he hit, what would be more shocking next year? Him hitting 35 home runs or him hitting 10?
Probably the 35 at this point.
It might
might
actually
be.
be more shocking.
If I had to pick one, I'm probably going 10.
You find 10 more shocking? Well,
No, you're saying you think more likely.
More likely, yeah.
yeah, more. But what would be more shocking? Yeah.
More shocking is 35.
Yeah, see, like, to me, like, we broke down the numbers. Like, if you look at it, he had the 48 home runs 5 years ago, right? In the year he lost out in the MVP to Shohei, and that was with the minor league ballparks thrown in there and a little bit of a different circumstance. But since then, he's averaged basically 25 home runs per 162 games. So, that's five. That's not like a small sample size, right? So he's kind of like a 20-ish home run guy in reality since that 48 home run explosion.
Right.
And now he's way under that. He's sitting at 7. So the idea that he's going to suddenly become a 35-40 guy again, you just don't see it.
No, and that's where, at a minimum, you better be leading the league with doubles or something like that. Have the best on-base percentage in the league and just be a guy who never strikes out, walks a ton, incredible plate discipline, and it just has not been there at the level that would be expected out of him this year. Jays Royals tonight. Best Bet's coming up a little bit later in the hour. OverDrive continues up on YouTube Live.
The Amazing Race Canada. All new Tuesday at 9/8 Central on CTV. Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, best bets coming up later in the hour. Jays Royals tonight. Dave Naylor, Dave Festruck in here. Looks like there's some more news. Josh Jacobs had himself some legal troubles, and it sounds like more has come in on that from the state of Wisconsin. I'm not convinced he will be playing early in the season for the Packers. So, with that in mind, that's obviously different from maybe contractual holdouts or injury problems. But this time of year, it's really about who's going to get to opening night. Like, who's going to be on your roster? Who's playing?
The last week of preseason games, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then we go till, the Bills open on September 13th. So they got,
Yeah, there's a 10-week summer
yeah,
this year.
Yeah, so you got an extra week.
Yeah.
Which I fortunately do not have to cover an NFL team every day,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm around a lot of people in Buffalo who are at training camp every single day.
Yeah.
Like from July 20. They got to love that last 10 days.
Oh, like
where the cuts have been made.
roster's been set. Yeah. Like, what are you doing every day, though, too, right? Like, you're obviously tracking practice, and there's going to be some off days.
You can't watch practice anymore.
So you can't
this
even
is the
get
last
it
week you can watch practice. After tonight, that's it.
So you're out. What the hell are you doing? You're just projecting and talking fantasy football, probably.
And people are listening because all anybody wants to talk about is football.
Oh, it's amazing. You go down to American markets and you throw on, talk radio down there during a football camp. They're talking, they're yelling at each other over who's going to start at left guard.
Oh, yeah.
What happens if this, nickel corner goes down and it's like 15 minutes on that next. It's like,
I noticed, like even in a market like this where it's a big NFL market and a big Bills market, the Bills conversation in Toronto is different than the Bills conversation in Buffalo.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
100%, of course.
Yeah, it's like Leaf conversations.
It is.
Here,
It's like
we
Leaf
talk,
conversation
We talk
here.
seventh defenseman all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's
Left
your
guard.
depth
Left
chart?
guard is a big story in Buffalo.
How is the
Yeah.
depth chart at left guard?
Yeah.
Right, and we're not getting into that here, are we? I mean, maybe we are.
Yeah, we might at some point. I mean, the thing is, it's strange because Buffalo, they want to be Toronto's team, and I think they're the most popular team in the region, but they're not officially our team.
No.
Which, again, there's a lot of people in the city that love other teams and could tell you who the left guard is on their respective
Absolutely.
team.
Yeah.
But they may not know who the left guard is where everyone in Buffalo, for the most part, is a Bills fan. Not everybody. There'd obviously be some fans of other teams, but for the most part, it's fairly parochial. Like, you love the Bills. And so you can do that. It's the same thing up here in a lot of ways with the Leafs.
Very similar.
You love the Leafs, you love the Jays, you love the Raptors. Like, I was reading on ESPN.com today, because I think Goodell spoke recently about how he said definitively he believes at some point there will be an international team in the league.
Yeah.
And ESPN, I guess, asked a bunch of executives throughout the league and to kind of poll them. Where do you think would be the best setup? And London came in at number 1.
Yep.
Mexico City, number 2. And Toronto was number 3.
Really?
I think Berlin was number 4.
I'm surprised Germany wasn't ahead of Toronto.
Berlin was at 4 on this list.
Yeah.
Which you would think that, why would that not make sense, though? Like, I hear what you're saying. They like Germany and they feel, but Germany is in Europe. Like, so is London. But, like, Toronto is up the road. Like, outside of the Buffalo complication, which is written in the article, that the Bills would have serious issue with that, and I think the NFL might as well.
And you just had $700 million of public money go into that new stadium. So I think the fact that the state and the county ponied up so much for that stadium, the NFL is going to protect the Toronto market
as a Bills
market.
Yeah.
I think the window for that to happen was when Ralph Wilson was nearing the end.
Yeah.
And Terry Pagula stepped in, and now he's built a stadium. And I mean, they got a 30-year lease. Like, so
they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere. And I
don't want the Bills.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't want to take the Bills.
No.
Like, I would want, if Toronto were to ever get a team, I would want it to be established as an expansion team.
Right.
And start your own history. I don't want the history of another team.
No, I agree with you. I think start doing the math on that, though. Like what's an NFL expansion team worth today?
Oh, it's got to be $5, $6, $7 billion.
I'd say at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably shoot for 10, right? So that's $10 billion. And you got to build a stadium, which by the time you did it is probably
couple billion.
Well, the bills are 2.1.
So
Probably
more than that.
It's three at least.
Let's go
Yeah.
3.
Three's
right?
a cheap one.
Then the other thing is, in the modern standard for the NFL, for your practice facility and all that, it's like a small college campus. Like when you go to Flowery Branch, Georgia, or Owings Mills, Maryland, or these places, it looks like a campus. You know, all these fields and buildings. And all. Where's that going?
Yeah.
Real estate in Southern Ontario. Like you got to be pushing $15 to $20 billion, and we haven't even done the conversion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's further away than it's ever been in my lifetime.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think London makes sense, and what they would do there is I think if they expanded there, they would set up 4 teams.
Yeah.
And they would just set up a division.
Sure, a division. Yeah, because then like 6 of your road games are in Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And your home schedule.
And what you would do is you would set up whatever the cross-divisional games are, you're going over for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're playing 2 teams over there, and then you're coming home. And that's it.
I bet that happens. And the thing is, it would be awesome for the NFL because it's of the big 4, and even, it's the one that has the least penetration outside of the United States. Right?
Yes.
Because baseball and hockey and basketball are just games that are played more widely.
And more international sports.
So they could all of a sudden go from the one that was sort of the trailer to we're going to be the first one to have teams in Europe and play an interlocking schedule.
I don't think they'll ever move a Super Bowl out of the United States.
I would never say never.
But, that's what I was going to ask you guys.
That politically, that would be hard.
I don't think
that would be hard.
I think you'd get destroyed from your core base and political base. But I have read that if you're going to go over there, there also may be an understanding. Hey, you got 4 owners over there. You better bring a Super Bowl over. We're a part of your league, right?
You'd have to.
Detroit got a game. They got a new stadium.
You'd have to do it.
Indianapolis got a game.
I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, obviously, if you're really you're going over there, you're doing it with 100% commitment.
But when are you playing that game local time in London?
What's the difference?
5 hours.
5 hours.
You're not playing at 11 p.m. local in London. You can't play a Super Bowl at noon.
You play it at
because
8. It's a 3:00 start here. It's not that
yeah,
bad.
but
noon
that would be like when we were children. They used to play the Super Bowl at 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But everything now is about prime time.
A lot of things.
Everything.
Yeah.
And the
baseball teams didn't play at night when we were kids.
No.
You know.
No,
Yeah,
But a lot of things
guys,
have changed.
That would be the issue, moving the Super Bowl out of primetime television in the United States.
Yeah.
Now, you may say you could
To a
put it at 2
degree.
in the morning. It's the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to watch it. I actually did watch it at 2 in the morning one time. I was in Australia.
Well, but that's you moved, not the game.
Yeah, but
Where you happen to be doesn't count.
there's a reason though why this is a priority, right? Because they've essentially they want to grow, and they've tapped out so much of the potential revenue in the United States that there's only new places to go. So if you're going to do it, you have to do it right. And I think doing it right would probably say, hey, there's got to be if Europe is going to be a legitimate part of the NFL, we got to have a Super Bowl in Europe.
Well, that would be their argument.
Yeah.
It's a completely reasonable one. It just logistically that feels like a bridge too far. The Super Bowl is almost
the ultimate.
separate from the
It's an
NFL.
ultimate American event.
Exactly.
It's an American holiday.
Right.
You're basically outsourcing an American holiday.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And what it means to the market that hosts it. And I mean that would be an interesting conversation in a hypothetical world. Let's say Toronto ever got a team and spent $20 billion.
Yes.
I think it'd be more likely they put a Super Bowl in Toronto than they would in London because at least it's in the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
And it's easy for American companies to come up. And same thing with Mexico City. If Mexico City ever got a team, I wonder how people in Toronto would respond to that. Like, that seems like just the amount of people that are in Mexico City.
25 million.
5 million people.
Massive.
Yeah.
It's a massive town. But I mean, look, we were talking about how the one place that's definitely not getting a Super Bowl is Buffalo, right? Because first of all, they don't have a dome, and second of all, they don't have enough hotels. But I mean, and what does that tell you? The idea that the hotel stock and the quality of the downtown core is a factor. Like Detroit could barely hold it, right? Like I was there, you were there,
we were there.
We were there. You couldn't even the crappiest restaurants. You couldn't get into a crappy restaurant in Detroit because there was nowhere else to go. Like everybody, it was maxed out,
and it was rainy.
Absolutely,
It was rainy.
It was miserable. It was still fun, but I mean. but I'm saying, like, you talk about an exotic, like, there's no better city than London. I mean, for hotel stock and and just if you want to take a sponsor to an incredible experience, like going to London for the Super Bowl, like that's what this league's about now, man. Like you can't forget that stuff. Like this is about. It's about whining and dining the biggest money in the world, and that's why
they would justify it.
There.
But it brings to mind the Mark Cuban quote about the greediness of the NFL, and eventually it'll get you, like eventually it'll catch you. And I just wonder if North America, specifically American fans, would look at that and say, "What are you doing?" Especially like let's say you've been waiting let's say you're a Bills fan, you've been waiting your whole life, and they get there. Not your whole life because they went there 4 times, but they get there and you got to go to London to watch the game. Like
you thought a Super Bowl trip was already expensive.
You thought it was already expensive. Try London with that flight, those prices. It would be a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting it past Goodell in the back of his mind to be thinking, hey, that would make a lot of sense, and to be thinking and to sell the owners on, hey, because you're getting expansion money. 4 teams are going to London, and that's $80 billion. Everyone's getting a piece of that cake, but it comes with the idea that, hey, they got to get a Super Bowl at some point. The owners may be like, all right, cool. But at what point would they say, I don't know if we can go that far just because our fan base is always going to be in North America?
Like
the Super Bowl.
Let's think about this, though. Like you just said the magic words. Like think about the expansion money.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to come with a Super Bowl hosting.
Wow. Why wouldn't it though?
They would ask for it, of course.
Of course, they'd want it, and I think it would be in your best interest to legitimize the European division and to say we're committed to being on this soil over here. This is not some flight of fancy. This ain't the CFL going to the States and then coming back. All those years ago.
Once it's established, it's staying.
We are here, and this is a part of who we are now. You got to make that statement, right? And look, like the money's the thing. Like NHL owners are rubbing their hands together because they're going to get $2 billion a franchise. Like if Naylor's right, and it's 10 for an NFL franchise, and you're saying, let's go London, Munich, Berlin, whoever the 4th city is, because we need a division over here. I mean, if you're talking about $40 billion or something of that nature, like that's $1 billion plus to each owner.
Oh, it's incredible.
Think about that.
Oh, it's an amazing amount of money.
I mean, and you don't think you might say fans will be all right for 1 year.
Well, and the NFL is proving that there really is not a bridge too far yet.
No.
The opening night this year is a Wednesday.
Like
they're playing on Wednesday. Yeah. They're playing Wednesday.
They've already captured Christmas. The Bills are playing on Christmas.
Yeah, and they're never giving that back.
No,
if Christmas on a Tuesday, they're playing.
Oh yeah,
like they are never. They are committed to that, and they're going to keep expanding their schedule for sure. And if you add 4 teams, eventually we all know they're getting to 18 games. They're going to play 18 games. And then they're going to play 19 and then 20. Like, it's coming. It's probably going to happen. But someone's got to – it's one thing to think about it or talk about it. It's another thing to execute it.
It's funny you mentioned the Toronto thing. So the NFL, every year, the Super Bowl, there's an international – a news conference about the international games and international reach and all that stuff. And it's funny how, like, Canada has dropped out of that conversation. It's about games in Australia and Germany and Mexico and all of that.
Why do you think that is?
The answer that was given, I think, last time was that basically since the Dome got converted to a baseball stadium, there's not, and I don't know about BC Place and how that would work for conversion, but there's basically not an NFL-ready stadium in Canada anymore. Because the last time you were playing games like during the Bills in Toronto series, that was pre-renovation for the Dome. So that would be a very simple answer. But I think the other part of it is just they have Canada. People go to games, people buy merchandise. We're the exclusive rights holder to the National Football League.
Ratings are huge.
We write a giant check, and it's among our most. It probably is our most important property.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they have.
Yeah.
This is a league that wasn't in LA for 25 years and didn't feel a great obsession to need to be back there.
Yeah. No, they understand that they've converted pretty much everyone anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why Europe is the place they got to go next, right?
They're getting players from Europe now.
Yeah.
There's lots of players all coming through the NCAA because they've figured out that, if you've got certain genetics for how big you are and how fast you can move,
you can play.
You can play.
We'll find a way to make it work.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, Best Bets coming up, powered by FanDuel. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
The Emmys, live Monday, September 14th on CTV and Crave. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Bills are playing on TSN Radio tonight. Right, Bills Steelers.
Bills
tonight.
Steelers. End of the preseason.
End of the preseason.
And Josh ain't playing. That's it. When Joe Brady never gives anything away, and I was at his availability on Tuesday morning in Buffalo, and he's like, "Yeah, Josh Allen will not be playing
Thank you, Joe. Good to hear. I'm still laying the points. I'm on the Bills tonight.
Okay.
I'm on the Bills tonight. I'm going to lay the points, and I sprinkle the over in the Jays game. I just feel like the arms, I know the bats have not been phenomenal, but I just feel like the arms are they've been holding on by a thread the last couple of games for both teams at different times. So I'd sprinkle the over as well in the Jays game tonight. Best bets powered by FanDuel. First inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball in the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. So yeah, Bills Steelers tonight on TSN. Gonna be a good one. Jays Royals tonight. Stadium looks all right, right? And we were actually looking at the line. I was surprised by this. They start their season in Houston week 1, and the Bills are a slight favorite in that game.
Yeah.
That's got to be public money that Vegas is thinking there, because Houston, as you have pointed out many times, have owned the Bills.
6
lately.
in a row they've lost there. And
6 in a row in Houston.
2 in the last 3 years, I think. And like bad performances. Not like where they went and played well and like lost by a walk-off. Like they got taken apart last year. It was probably their worst game.
And that Texans defense might be the best in the NFL.
It is.
Is it the best? Yeah, is it?
I think so. With the 2 corners and the 2 guys on the edge, like
Rams are pretty damn good too.
Yeah,
right?
no. Well,
although Aaron Donald still hasn't made an announcement yet.
What's that? What's going on there? You think?
He's just. I mean, he probably wasn't going to make an announcement until training camp was done, and we'll find out in the next week. But I mean, he's working out, and certainly people seem to think it's happening.
They got to be getting to a point though where they're quietly saying, "Dude, are you playing or not?" Because we got to cut somebody if you're not playing.
Yeah.
Like if you are playing,
your roster.
Someone's got to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a put up or shut up time now, I would think, for Aaron Donald.
Unless he's told them on the QT he's coming.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But in the NFL world, that generally doesn't. At some point, Schefter gets that.
Oh.
You know.
I was going to say, if you said that, Schefter would probably know it.
Someone would sniff that out, you would think. But it is possible for sure. But yeah, the Bills are a slight, like 1.5-point favorite in Houston week 1. And some of that might be C.J. Stroud. The last time we saw him play was so horrendous.
Yeah. Bad season last year.
It was really, really ugly.
Yeah. Hard.
But he did not have a good offensive line.
No.
They had a lot of injury problems. Nico Collins was banged up a lot.
Yeah.
I expect him to bounce back to an extent this year. I think he'll be much better.
That's one of the best opportunities in all of pro sports, because he doesn't have to be great to be a champion.
No.
Like that team could win it for him on the defensive side of the ball. If he's just if he's middle of the road, right?
Yeah.
Just don't hurt us.
Exactly.
Like if he's that, they're probably going to be a Super Bowl contender, if not a Super Bowl winner.
I'm trying to think what the angst level is going to be like in Orchard Park if they lose that first one to Houston when they come home, because the way the schedule works, they're home 4 days later against the Detroit Lions.
That's a tough schedule, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's absolutely a scenario they could be 0-2 after 5 days.
Jeez.
Of Joe Brady's
5 days in.
Yeah, 5 days in.
The other side of that is they're 2-0 against 2 really good teams, and they're feeling great.
Yeah.
Then you're like, uh-oh, they got the right guy. Stadium pops. We got some time off now.
Got 10 days off after that.
Yeah. It's a fork in the road for the Bills, for sure. It's a big opportunity.
Learn a lot.
All right, guys. Good seeing you, too. Thanks for doing this, as
thanks
always.
so much for having us.
Good seeing you. Dave Naylor, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it, everyone, for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, up on YouTube Live, streaming soon up on Crave. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll chat then.
This is going to be one great night.
Let's go! The NFL season kicks off with the Super Bowl rematch Wednesday, September 9th on TSN, CTV, and Crave.